All right, it's time. Let's convert this baby to the V4. So I've read through the instructions. I'm going to try to walk you guys through it. We're going to be learning together just a little bit. I have not done this, like, I haven't built it and then taken it apart. So you're learning with me. I've just had more time to go through the instructions, and I've talked to Adam a little bit about it. So first thing we need to do is deconstruct the V3. Now, I'm going to make the assumption that, like myself, the V3 is going to end up in someone else's hands. So you still want to take care of it. In my case, my V3 is going to a buddy of mine who has been waiting anxiously. So I need to make sure that I don't damage it while I'm taking it apart or packing it up. So here's what we're going to do. First, obviously, make sure there's no powder in it. There's no powder in my trickler, no powder in my big hopper. We're going to pull the powder off. Let's get the cup out of here. I want to remove the cables here, so we're going to just carefully work them out. Depending on how much you use them, they come out easier or harder, but just make sure that you, these are not fragile, but you don't want to go yanking on them. Just make sure you kind of wiggle them and they'll come out pretty easily if you haven't done it before. We're going to obviously take the trickler, put it aside. Also, we do not need any of this. Now, whether you're using an aftermarket lid like I've got, or you have the factory plastic one, none of that's going to be necessary. So this whole thing can go away right now. I'm going to take this and put it aside for just a second. I want to get to the two data cables back here. And again, just slowly work them out. You're dealing with 4 pins. If you haven't taken them out in a while, you've got this little 4-pin connector. They're not really expensive, but if you can avoid breaking them and having to wait for Adam to send you new ones, all the better. So we're going to go ahead and just put those aside. So we have this. Now, in talking to Adam, now I know a lot of people throw this out. I've been weird. I just have kept mine ever since I got it, and my scale is beautiful and pristine. This will not be usable. I'm going to leave it on because I'll show you why. I know why it won't work, so I'll show you in a minute. Also, there is a new power cable that Adam is including. Even if you have, like, whenever he sells a V2, V3, whatever, he's always included new power cables for the scale system. You always want to make sure that you use the power cord that he gives you. So I am going to remove this one. Unplug that. And then I'm going to just plug in this end of it. Well, actually, I'm going to wait a minute because I think I have to get back here. Okay, I'll plug this in a minute, but we don't need the old power cable. It can go away. So we're going to use the one that came with the V4. Then what we need to do is remove the V3 Bluetooth unit that's here. Now, depending on how you got your A&D scale, like in my particular case, I bought it direct from CE, and when they do that, they install and configure the board. And in my case, I didn't get the little metal cover plate because the board was already installed. It doesn't matter. I've talked to Adam about it. I asked him what would happen, and you can see there's just an opening here. None of this matters. You can just leave it exposed. You could call CE, probably get a replacement panel sent if you really want to. You could just put a little piece of plastic over it, tape, whatever. I'm just going to leave mine empty, but I am going to put those 2 screws back in just in case I need them in the future here. If you don't remember, you probably want to check your box if you kept it for the A&D and see if you have the little cover plate. It's just a little metal cover plate. All right, so we've got that. I'm going to go ahead and plug in the new power cord, but I am not going to power it up yet. I'm just going to hang it over here. I'll plug it in a minute or two here. Okay, so that's going to wind around. Now, real quickly, the V4 really requires that you are bubble leveled correctly, okay? So you need to really take a hard look down on it and make sure that you have adjusted the 2 wheels that are here. Remember, this is a hard post, So it's a tripod basically. These two wheels are going to help you rock it back and forward and back. Make sure you get this as level as possible for the best possible operation of the V4. And I've got mine about as dead center as I could do with it. Then we have the frame here. So as it sits, it's a little loosey-goosey, okay? And I've also drilled out one side for my trickler to sit through. Now, some people just take this whole panel out. If you did that, great. Go grab it and throw it back in because you're not going to need an opening here anymore. If you've drilled it out like I have, you could just cover it with some tape. Or I've owned, I think this is my 5th or 6th AutoTrickler unit. So I have a few extra panels I've accumulated over time. So I'm just going to slide in that. But no matter what you do, I mean, it's not a big deal if you have to put a piece of clear tape over, but seal up any of the holes that you've made because you don't need any of them anymore. So you just want to keep it as draft free as possible in there. So I've got that all set up. Now, the next thing is he includes these 4 little bumper stickers, or stickers that are bumpers. And they are for the bottom of this because this thing is going to shoulder quite a bit of weight and it's going to have some movement going on. And they don't sit square. It's hard to explain, but if you play with yours, you'll understand. So what we need to do is on the bottom, there are these 4 circles where the posts go in. We want to put a sticker on top of each one. And I am going to, probably totally unnecessary, but I'm just grabbing a little alcohol wipe. You know, this thing's been on here for a while, so let me just clean off where these stickers are going to go. It'll help kind of mitigate any walking that those stickers do. Let's see. Get that nice and dried off. All right, so we've got our 4 stickers. And you just want to try to center them as much as you can over each of these post holes. And they just sit there. It's not a big deal. Like, you'll figure it out, but you just want to kind of eyeball it over center best you can. And I'll show you here. All right. So you can see right here. Whoops. You can see right here. I've got the bumpers. Right. So they are just right there. Just kind of give them a little push. And again, with the alcohol on there, hopefully that will help reduce any of that. Now, this is the whole reason he warned me. He goes, look, once you put these bumpers on, this plastic shield you're going to have to get rid of. And here's why. If I put it on, it wants to move, right? Because this whole plastic shield can shimmy a little bit. So we're going to just get rid of it. Because that's the right thing to do. I'll go ahead and put it, I'll give it to my buddy when I give him my V3 if he doesn't have one. In case you're wondering, these are the ID markers inside of my iPad and my iPhone for this particular scale, because if I ever have other scales and I need to identify multiple shot markers or identify different AutoTricklers, I can quickly know which one belongs to what. So I just leave these on here. Okay, so the next thing that he's going to tell you in the instructions to do is to put your little cup holder on the platen, which is this piece right here. Okay, I talked about this in my unboxing, but there's a little 1/4-inch ridge, and then what he's done is designed this to just go right up against the edge there, and then that will hold his little shot cup powder dispenser. The $1 million question everybody's going to ask is, well, what about my aluminum cups or some custom plastic cup that I 3D printed or whatever? I don't know. We're going to find out. I think it's still going to work okay because dimensionally, these are the same height as the shot cups. So your cup may vary, but what I'm probably going to end up doing is not doing this step quite yet. I'm going to wait till we have everything on because I am probably going to need to move mine to somewhere like that so that my cup sits on the edge properly. But I can figure that out later. But in the instructions, just know it's sort of one of those steps that's a little bit early on, and that's why. So now that we've got all of these pieces in, we need to connect a couple pieces. And the first thing we're going to do is put the lid. So this is his new acrylic lid. It's really nice, by the way, like really well done. And it's routed out, so it'll just seal nicely. You've got the groove on the bottom, the bumpers on the top, and this little tab. So the bumpers face up, the groove goes over this rim, and the tab goes to the back, okay? So it's going to fit on here, and you have to, it feels like, yeah, it's like the other aftermarket that I've got. You just have to kind of shimmy it to get it in that groove. It fits really snugly though, I will tell you. That's very, very snug. So that's great. Okay, these 3 bumpers are going to align. Let me just make sure here. So we've got our motor assembly and our whole tube and motor assembly. Now, something that was in my unboxing video that I would like to correct, even though it's not a huge deal, is that both of these plates are in fact the same. I was so juiced up, excited to play with this thing that I just fidgeted with it wrong, and you know, you can see they interchange. So they are the same. There is no front or back with these tabs. So that was my bad, but I was just so excited. The powder funnel may or may not be attached when you get it. Keep in mind, this is a beta unit, but it is just snugly fit in there. And it does say in the instructions how to attach it. It's not that big a deal. Let me see if I can. Mine's just a little tighter than average. So you can see right here that you will probably have that funnel. There's an O-ring right here, and it just fits snugly up into that O-ring. Okay. So there you go. And so once you have it in, it's just flush up against the bottom. So it's not that big a deal. All right. Now what we're gonna do is there's these wings right here. So there's kind of a wing here, and there's a wing here, and then there's a base back here. And I'm gonna try, make sure I don't dump out these plastic covers real quick. Right here, this is recessed. That is going to go over the bumper in the back. And these 2 little wings are going to sit on the 2 bumpers here. So this is going to go in, and there will be a little bit, just a little bit of floating room around the funnel that gives you a little bit of wiggle. But what you really are trying to make sure that you do, and let me pull this off just so I can show you, because you can feel it when you do it, but I want to be able to show you guys. So what we are trying to do back here is see that rubber bumper? We're trying to get it into that hole. Okay, so when it's lined up, it'll just sit in there, and that aligns it up right there. Okay. All right, let's put these back in. All right. So now that's going to sit in there, and if you look at it from the side, okay, if you turn it sideways and look, you will notice that this sits higher than this. That is by design, okay? You did not screw anything up. There is nothing wrong with your unit. There is a slight slope to the back. That's normal, okay? So we've got the back bumper lined up. We've got the 2 little wings sitting on their respective bumpers. We are good to go there. We've already removed the electronics. I think technically in the instructions it tells you to remove the electronics now, but I just wanted to clean up the unit before I went any further. On the back is your little DB9 setup that this plugs into, and I need to grab. So I'm just going to use his little wrench because I have it handy. And we are going to push this on, and it is tapered, so this will face up, and this little bevel fits under the edge of the scale, which is pretty nice. All right, and okay, there's one side, and there's no reason, I mean, unless you really plan on removing this cable half for some reason, there's no reason not to snug this down just so that it is properly secured. Okay, so now it can't be removed. Keep in mind that there are the 2 tabs, and if you didn't watch my unboxing video, on the on one half of this, there's like a little flap that snaps over to catch the other half of the electrical connection. You don't really need that. This is a very snug connection, and it's just sort of a redundant thing. In my case, I just cut it right off. It's not that big a deal. So, all right. So we've got that. I am going to. I am partially following along instructions here. So. All right, so there is a tilt angle adjustment in here, and that is inside of this recess. So he says here, tilt angle is controlled by a set screw. Touch both sides of the rear end to center the housing. Ensure the pad fits into the recess. Ensure the housing appears to have roughly 1 millimeter gap to the panel. So if I am doing that, now let's see here. I'm just double checking what 1 millimeter looks like so I don't screw it up. Yeah, that's about 1 millimeter. So, okay. So in my particular case, it looks like it came pretty much adjusted the way that it should. But if you need to adjust, and what that's doing is from front to back, it's adjusting this angle. So it's something that can always be adjusted later if you're finding that there is a dispensing issue because of, maybe you didn't have it quite at 1 millimeter. It's important that it be set at a fixed angle so that all the small and large kernels flow. Yeah. Okay. And the last thing that is of notice is that you do need to make sure when you put these little colored panels on, or these panels with the color on them here, make sure there's a rounded side and there's a squared off side. The squared off side goes down. This bullet should face up on both sides. You do not want the rounded side down. So make sure there'll be a little bit of a lip above, and that's okay. All right. And now we're going to connect these. And there is only one way that these cables will connect. So you can't connect them in a wrong way. But if you are ever worried, you can see green, green, blue, blue, pink, pink, black, black. All right. So let me put her back. And I'm still centered, so you got to keep an eye on that level. All right, let's see what's next here. So we've got our powder scale, or our powder cup, and again, I'm going to have to kind of play with that. So what I'll do probably is, I think I'm just going to lay mine so that I'll put that on later, like I said, but right now the inside of my cup should fit right here to the inside of the platen ridge. And I think that's going to let it dump without any kind of spillage. But this fits great, so I'm really happy about that. Let's see, inspect the hopper. So we've got our hopper. I showed this to you in the unboxing video, but just to reiterate, the way this is designed, and you can see right now there's nothing there. If I rotate, it's open. Okay. If I put this on, okay, first off, it has to be closed in order to go on, okay? So it's on, and then I am going to rotate it to open it. Now that locks it in place. I cannot remove this until I close it, okay? And now I can remove it. So I do like that feature. I think that's really nice. So we've got our hopper on there. Everything's good there. Yeah, okay. Well, I feel good about that. Rotate the hopper. We know how that works. So we got that. We got that. So we're almost done assembling, I think. Let's see. Connect the scale. So I've got the new power adapter. Let me... Always harder to plug it in. All right. So it's powering up. It's weird, without that plastic cover, it's even that much brighter. All right, now, there should be a plastic light. Okay, so on the underside of this, there is, let me see if I can find a picture. So this is, well, that doesn't, okay, on the underside of this, there is, see this, there's a light assembly right here. It will go either red or green depending on the charge being dropped. So when it's done dropping the charge, it actually turns green. And there's a couple little tricks I'll play with on another video on ways he suggested to make the light brighter if that's something that you want to do. So, all right, so there's that. All right, well, I guess I need to fire up the... this is probably going to be the end of this just because this was strictly an assembly video, but I will at least connect it. Yay! Okay. Well, it moves. That's a good sign. So I just set it to 0.2 of a grain, so it's trying to trickle right now. So this is the gross, this is the fine. So this would be the trickle side. And I'll go ahead and stop it because it's inconsequential. So, so there you go. That is, well, that looks like it's it. So not too bad. Again, I'm working off beta instructions. You will have a much more refined instruction manual, but hopefully that gives you what you need to get this thing at least installed on your unit and ready to program. So, now my time to play with it a little bit. Let me get familiar with it, and then I will knock out a couple videos on tuning it, using it, and what you can expect from it. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys are having a good one. We will talk later.